Alright. Halfway point for Ed Madness. We're gonna stay in ranked matches. I'm having fun. But, you know what? To continue the conversation, because we might as well. I think I said during Folk Madness that if games like Street Fighter V and Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite had to come out for the developers or Capcom in particular with those two games, if they had to learn from the mistakes of these games to make better games in the future, then I can get down with that. But I think Marvel and Street Fighter V in particular have taught us very valuable lessons in what you need to do with a fighting game. With Street Fighter V, it released too freaking soon. It really did. I think there was like 12 characters at launch. No story mode, no arcade mode, very little for the casual player to do, absolutely nothing. And then they released the story mode in June or later that year, and more characters. But then we learned that Pokken Tournament on the Wii U sold more than Street Fighter V in some sense. I think it was. I think it was like either physical or digital copies or something. And like I said during Pokken Tournament, you know, at the end of the playthrough, when you factor in that the Wii U was a struggling console to sell, because a lot of people had the agreement that it was a last generation console, and all this other stuff with the Wii U, the controller, the gamepad, just no, you know, that kind of stuff. You know, it was reported to struggle to sell, to struggle to meet targets. There was all this bullshit about, oh, you know, Mario will be on PS4, and it's like, no, dude, it's not. Mario is never coming to PS4 in a million years. If it does, then holy shit, but I don't think it is. I'm dead. This guy decided to come and play now, but yeah, Mario's never coming to PS4, guys. Never in a million years. Nintendo would not let that happen. But you know, it was that all sorts of bullshit and all this stuff, and yet Pokken Tournament sold more than Street Fighter V on it. And yes, Pokken Tournament's roster was so much smaller than I wanted it to be. I thought the roster was too small, but it had enough for the casual player to pick it up and play. And it's not a simple game. It's much like Fighters. Simple to play and hard to master kind of game. This fucking book is insane. Stick. But you know, there was enough for the casual player to do. There was enough for me to do. I to casually play online. I'm dead. You know, I casually played online. I played the story mode. The story mode was great in Pokken Tournament. It was one of my favorite fighting game story modes. And the online was just fucking insanely good. Like, the online instantly found you matches, and it still continues in the Switch version. Now, unfortunately, in my opinion, I don't think the Switch version is as good online as the Wii U version was, at least from my experience. But Pokken Tournament in this era of fighting games was probably a prime example of what to do. I still stand by that. Yes, the roster was really short at launch, but it had everything else. But like I said, rosters are important, and sadly, I don't think Nintendo, to their credit, I don't think expected Pokken Tournament to blow up to the point where it outsold Street Fighter V, an established fighting game franchise. And that's what caught them out, and that's why no DLC was made until later. Alright. I don't think I mentioned this at the end of my Tekken 7 thing, but I said that Soul Calibur 6 has learned a lot of lessons from Tekken 7. And the reason I think that is because of the roster. The roster in Soul Calibur 6 is exactly who everyone would want. There's Maxi, Yoshimitsu, Sophitia. You know, classic Soul Calibur characters. All I need now is Xianghua and Talib, and then I'm done. You know, I'm sold on the game. And they probably could come out later. But Soul Calibur 5's roster was just meh. But they learned so much from Tekken 7 and from... Oh, we're going to rematch with Zangief player. So much from Tekken 7 and so much from Soul Calibur 5 and they made it better. And that pretty much goes with what I said earlier. If Street Fighter V and Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite had to come out to make, in this case Capcom, learn from their mistakes for future games, then maybe we'll sit and say, you know, okay, maybe these games needed to come out, and they've made Street Fighter 6, and if there is a Street Fighter 6, and there probably will be, and a new Marvel vs. Capcom game that's better, and has the X-Men characters, and has the stages, and has the graphics, you know. The graphics were awful in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Well, one of the worst things, I would say, not awful, but a lot worse than what you'd expect on a current gen console. You know, they were awful. Chun-Li's face, no, I didn't even like Chris Redfield's face. Chris Redfield's face was, no, I did not like Chris Redfield's face. Oh my god, the damage! That takes up like half your health. That's ridiculous. Sure. But yeah, we might, who knows? Maybe we'll see in the future. Maybe we'll sit and say that Street Fighter V and Marvel vs. Capcom were necessary games for building on the series' future. Fuck! I didn't do Super. I didn't have meter for Super. Damn it! I messed up. But yeah, if these games had to come out for the better of the franchise in the future, then they will turn into necessary releases that had to happen. But should it have been like that in the first place? That's the question. When you look at something like Detroit Become Human and how that worked, and how hardly worked on that game was, and how phenomenal it is, should Street Fighter V and Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite come out in the states they were in 2016, 17, 18? Should they have really done that? That's the question. Should they have released it? Probably not. They could. We can say they're necessary games for the future, but they shouldn't have been released in those states in the first place. I think that's what it is. I'm just talking now, but no, it's just so much that makes you think. You know? Yeah, this guy outsmarted me, pretty much. It's a rematch with that guy. I mean, every fighting game really has its pros and cons. I'm not saying that Pokken Tournament is perfect, you know, or anything like that. I'm not saying Fighters is perfect. But they were examples of what to do in a fighting game. This is 2018. You can't release Street Fighter V and Marvel in the stage you did. You can't do it. It's not going to cut it. This is 2018. We're in a brand new era of technology. We're in the era that Microsoft can have Xbox original games run on their newest console. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of backwards compatibility, but I'm going to say that that is a fucking great idea. And it opens up new playthroughs for me to do. And I'm going to be honest, it's miles better than anything PlayStation 4 does. The backwards catalog for PlayStation is so good, but PS4 wants to go forward and not backwards. And I think that's the thing. That's the right thing to do in a way, but you know, it's PlayStation pretty much have done what Microsoft did when the Xbox One was announced. They've gone buy a PS3 in the way that, you know, their backwards catalog, compatibility catalog doesn't even exist. You know, there's very few games on it, and the games they do have run like crap. Fahrenheit looks fucking terrible on PS4. Now I wouldn't mind that if the remastered version of Fahrenheit didn't come out. If they couldn't do a remastered version that was only on PC, I wouldn't have been so annoyed about that. The reason that annoyed me was because there was a remastered version out that could have easily been ported to the PS4. Not the biggest fan of the county theme in this. kind of xylophone-y. It just doesn't feel like a carry beam. Well, I guess that's how it was in the old days, I guess. Oh, fuck. 500 ninjas is this guy's name. Good throw. Counter. Alright, win. But yeah, the fact that Xbox One can play Xbox 360, Xbox original games, and let me tell you something. I'll tell you something in the next part. I'll do it in the next part because I don't want to overrun this part of the video and like have it a 20-minute monologue. We'll do it while fighting. Give me a sec. Alright, so to continue with what I just said, the Xbox original games on the Xbox One, because they're enhanced titles, they look so damn good. I'm gonna admit it. They look damn good. They really do. They've done those Xbox One games justice. The original Xbox games justice. They did it. They did them justice. And like I said, I'm quite a critic sometimes of backwards compatibility because I think we're in the age where we should be going forwards. But the thing that reminded me of such a thing like being necessary was a memory I had. When I bought a PS2, I had a PS2 for Christmas. Absolutely psyched. But at the time, I didn't know you could play the PS1 games on the PS2. I didn't know you could do that, and I was like, great, I've got a PS2, and I can play F1 2001 for days on end, but what am I going to do with these old games now? What if I want to go back on F1 99, because I still had that at the time. I still had F1 2000 and 99, I had those games from Studio Liverpool. But what do I do with them now? And I always used to, because my brother didn't get a PS2, he had a PS1, he got a PS1, so because I didn't know, I always went in my brother's room on his PS1 when he wasn't there. I always went in the room and played my PS1 games. And my mom, I remember my mom coming in and going, "Why? You do know you can play it on your PS2, right?" And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah, you can play your PS1 games on your PS2. You don't have to use it." I was like, "Okay." And I remembered how like happy I was, you know, because now I could play those PS1 games that I loved before I got a PS2. And yeah, and you could even use the memory cards and stuff, and it was brilliant. I kind of forgot about that when I was being very critical of Backward Scout. I forgot how my happiness that I felt that I could do that, and it kind of changed my opinion completely. It was a tweet from some guy because I said, okay, I wasn't mean to him. I said that, you know, I feel that it may hold the console back from producing its top titles, because I remember Scalebound being such a huge thing and then getting cancelled. Now I didn't blame, oh my god, I didn't blame Backwards Cat for the cancellation of Scalebound. There was other things doing it, but and he said, well, you know, a lot of people do like that sort of stuff for nostalgia trips, and I was like, you know what, now that I think about it, that makes a lot of sense. And there's so much PS3 games I want to play. You know, I'm heavily thinking of maybe getting a PS3 one day and getting one of those older Elgato capture cards, because even though we don't do them anymore, they're not ready in production. I think there's still a couple I could get. So maybe I can pick one of those up in the future, because I lost my old ones. I lost those. I don't know where they are now. I would like to say they're somewhere, but they're not. I don't think there is anymore. So I'll pick a new one up. I'll probably get a PS3, and I'll get to play things like God of War and Resident Evil 2. I probably could have done that when I was playing Championship Edition on the PS3 for my Schumacher years, but I was so into playing that game that I didn't really want to test out a Resident Evil 2. I think I might have done. I think it came out pretty well. So now that I think about that, I'm actually quite gutted, and I want to I want to experience games like God of War, you know? I don't want to pay for PlayStation Now, which is 16 quid in itself, to get a shitty streaming service that's going to have delayed inputs and shit, when I can do it on the PS3, buy the first 2 God of Wars and do it that way. I'm seriously doing that at some point this year. Because PlayStation just decides, oh, we're not going to honour our players that want to play Crash Bandicoot. I mean, it's great that they release remastered versions of Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, but, you know, when's Resident Evil 2 remaster coming out? Is it ever coming out? We haven't heard anything about it. Same with Final Fantasy VII. Is it ever coming out? Is it ever getting remade? Has it been cancelled? Has it been delayed? What's happened? Nothing since it was announced like E3 maybe 2-3 years ago. Absolutely nothing.